Bron Breakker just sent shockwaves through WrestleMania 42, and his return was nothing short of devastating. If you want to see the kind of wrestling breakdown that goes beyond surface-level recaps, you subscribe to WWE Express and ring the notification bell right now, because we're about to dissect why Bron's spear through Seth Rollins might be the most significant moment at this year's WrestleMania. The story of Bron Breakker's return is layered with meaning that extends far beyond one match. For months, questions circulated about whether Bron could return to form, whether an injury layoff would diminish the explosive power that made him such a threat. Wrestling fans were uncertain. Would the time away change his approach? Would he come back as the same force of nature, or would he be reduced to a version of himself? Seth Rollins walked into this match feeling like he had an advantage, like the veteran's experience could exploit any rust that might have accumulated during Bron's absence. What makes this story so compelling is the narrative reversal it represents. Seth came to the ring as the aggressor, the man who had been wrestling consistently, maintaining his main event presence while Bron was away. Seth looked sharp, moving with the kind of confidence that comes from never missing a beat on the biggest stages. He wanted to control the pace, to establish his superiority early and remind everyone that he was the established main event player in this program. But the moment Bron returned, everything changed. The electricity in the building was undeniable. The crowd understood what they were witnessing. This wasn't just a comeback match. This was a moment where a potential generational player was announcing his return to the highest level of professional wrestling. Bron came out with a presence that suggested he hadn't lost a step during his time away. If anything, his absence seemed to have given him time to refocus his mindset and come back sharper than ever. The physicality of this match reflected two completely different philosophies. Seth wanted to outwit Bron, to use his wrestling knowledge and experience to neutralize the younger man's power advantage. He worked methodically, looking to control segments and establish rhythm. Seth's striking looked crisp, his timing looked impeccable, and for stretches of the match, he looked like the superior wrestler. But Bron wasn't interested in competing on Seth's terms. From the opening moments, Bron signaled that he was going to impose his will on this contest. He attacked Seth with a directness and intensity that felt different from anything Seth was expecting. Bron didn't come back nursing injuries or doubting himself. He came back ready to remind everyone why he's viewed as a potential cornerstone of the entire company's future. What's fascinating about Bron's in-ring psychology is how his style forces opponents into uncomfortable positions. His explosiveness means that anyone stepping into the ring with him has to be ready for offense to come from anywhere at any time. Seth tried to counter this by keeping the action grounded, by wrestling segments where his technique could shine. But Bron kept disrupting Seth's control, disrupting his patterns, and forcing the match back into spaces where Bron's natural advantages became impossible to ignore. The turning point arrived when the match shifted into the final phases. Bron was clearly getting stronger as the match progressed, while Seth was beginning to show signs of fatigue. This is the story of generational physicality. Bron Breakker isn't just a strong wrestler. He's an athlete whose body was built for explosive, violent offense. When Seth tried to maintain his pace in the closing moments, Bron was still operating at full intensity, still fresh, still dangerous. When Bron finally set up for the spear, the crowd absolutely erupted. This was the moment everyone had been waiting for. The signature offense that defines Bron Breakker's entire approach to wrestling was about to connect against one of the best wrestlers on the entire roster. Seth tried to escape, tried to find a counter, but Bron's instincts were too sharp. He read Seth's movement perfectly and explosively launched himself into a spear that devastated his opponent. The impact was immediate and definitive. This wasn't a near fall that left the outcome in question. This was a finish that announced Bron Breakker's return in the loudest possible way. He hadn't come back diminished. He hadn't come back nursing doubts. He came back as a threat to anyone on the roster. What makes this victory so significant goes beyond the individual match. This is about trajectory and narrative momentum. Seth Rollins is one of the most important wrestlers in the entire company, and losing decisively to Bron at WrestleMania suggests that WWE is ready to establish Bron at an entirely new level. This isn't Bron returning to rebuild. This is Bron returning to dominate. From a character standpoint, this victory reinforces everything that makes Bron Breakker special. He's not a striker with questionable wrestling fundamentals. He's not a power wrestler who can't chain together sequences. Bron is a complete athlete who can impose his physicality while still executing wrestling brilliance. He understands spacing, he understands timing, and he understands how to build a match toward a crescendo. The implications for Bron's future are enormous. Championship programs are suddenly within reach. Main event programs against any name on the roster become realistic discussions. WWE has just shown that they're confident enough in Bron to use him to defeat someone of Seth Rollins' magnitude on the grandest stage possible. This is also a moment that validates the patience fans have shown with Bron Breakker. There were people who questioned whether he could live up to the expectations. There were skeptics who wondered if his early push was justified. Bron just answered those doubts with one of the most explosive, decisive performances of WrestleMania 42. Seth Rollins can hold his head high knowing he faced someone genuinely special and came up short against superior explosiveness and athleticism. But make no mistake, Bron Breaker's destruction of Seth Rollins marked a defining moment in his career arc. This is the moment where Bron stops being the prospect and becomes the established main event player. If this breakdown of WrestleMania 42's most explosive return resonated with you, make sure you subscribe to WWE Express for more detailed analysis of professional wrestling's biggest moments and the storytelling brilliance that makes this sport so compelling. Subscribe to WWE Express and join our community of wrestling fans who appreciate the technical, psychological, and athletic artistry that defines modern professional wrestling.